Peppa Pig, Grampy Rabbit's Boatyard. It is a lovely sunny day. Peppa, George and Granny Pig are going out with Grandpa Pig on his boat. "Ahoy there, Peppa and George," shouts Grandpa Pig. "I'll move the boat a bit nearer." Oh dear, Grandpa Pig's boat is sinking. "A captain never leaves his sinking ship," says Grandpa Pig. The boat sinks to the bottom of the river. Grandad Dog arrives on his boat.
Hooray!
"I'm taking my boat to the boatyard today," he says. "Would you mind taking mine too?" asks Grandpa Pig. "Of course," replies Grandpa Dog. "Where is your boat?" "I'm standing on it," says Grandpa Pig sadly. Grandad Dog's truck lifts the boat out of the water.
Wow!
"Next stop, the boatyard," says Grandad Dog.
"What's a boatyard?"
asks Peppa.
"A boatyard is where broken boats get mended,"
says Granny Pig. The truck arrives at Grampy Rabbit's boatyard. "Ahoy there, me hearties!" bellows Grampy Rabbit. "What happened to your boat, Grandpa Pig?"
"Someone drove it into a mooring post," says Grandpa Pig. "Can you mend it?"
"Of course," says Grampy Rabbit. Grampy Rabbit examines the hole in Grandpa Pig's boat. "I need to find something to patch it up," says Grampy Rabbit. Grampy Rabbit collects scrap metal. He uses it to mend boats.
Wow!
Grampy Rabbit has lots of scrap metal. He has used some of it to build a submarine. "It fills up with water," says Grampy Rabbit, "so it's very good at going down, but not so good at coming back up." Grampy Rabbit finds an old washing machine. "Now this is what I've been looking for," he says.
"You're going to mend my boat with a bit of old washing machine?"
asks Grandpa Pig. "Yes," says Grampy Rabbit. Grampy Rabbit covers up the hole with the old piece of metal. "There, good as new," he says.
Hooray!
"Hooray!" Everyone cheers. "Now we test it," says Grampy Rabbit. Everyone goes back to the river with Grandpa Pig's boat. "It floats," says Grampy Rabbit. "Usually they sink on the first go."
"Now we can go for our day on the river,"
says Peppa. Grampy Rabbit plays his banjo and everyone sings as the boat bobs up and down. The end. Pedro is late. Peppa and her playgroup friends are going on a trip to the museum.
Wow!
"Are we ready, children?" asked Madame Gazelle. "Where is Pedro?"
"I bet he is still in his pyjamas,"
says Susie Sheep.
"He's always late,"
says Peppa. Pedro Pony is fast asleep in bed. Pedro likes sleeping.
"Pedro, wake up,"
says Mummy Pony.
"You're going to be late for the playgroup trip."
Pedro yawns and gets out of bed.
"Okay, Mummy,"
he says. When Pedro and Mummy Pony arrive at playgroup, no one is there. They jump back into their car and drive towards the museum.
"Stop the bus,"
cries Mummy Pony.
"Pedro is here."
Miss Rabbit stops the bus and Pedro jumps on board. By the time they get to the museum, it is quite late. Mr. Rabbit is locking the museum's door when the bus arrives. "Hello, Mr. Rabbit," says Madame Gazelle. "We would like to see the museum, please." "I was just about to close," says Mr. Rabbit. "But I suppose I can give you a quick tour." Hooray! Everyone cheers. First, Mr. Rabbit shows the children a room full of clothes that belong to kings and queens. Pedro likes to look at things for a long time. This is interesting," he says, stopping to look at the shiny crown. The class follow Mr. Rabbit through the museum. "Here are all the giant dinosaur skeletons," says Mr. Rabbit. "They are all very old and very interesting."
Wow.
The children all gasp as they look around. No one notices that Pedro is getting left behind. The last room on the tour is the space room. "This room is dedicated to space, rockets and all of that sort of thing," says Mr. Rabbit. Mr. Rabbit needs to lock up the museum, so he shows everybody the exit. But Pedro is still inside the museum. Madame Gazelle goes to find him. Madame Gazelle eventually finds Pedro, but when they get outside, the school bus has gone without them. "Oh dear," says Mr. Rabbit, "have you missed the bus?"
Oh no!
Mr. Rabbit is about to get into his car to go home. "Mr. Rabbit, I am a teacher and I need your car," says Madame Gazelle. "Jump in, Pedro." Madame Gazelle takes Mr. Rabbit's car. "Don't worry, Pedro," says Madame Gazelle. "I know a shortcut." "Hello, ducks," says Pedro. Soon they are back at playgroup. "No one is here," says Madame Gazelle. "Oh no," says Pedro. "Am I late again?" Just then the school bus turns up. "No, Pedro, I think for once you are early." "Pedro is early," cheers Peppa, jumping off the bus. "Yes," says Pedro, "and you're late, slow coaches." Pedro decides he likes being early. Everyone likes being early. The end. Peppa Pig. Peppa goes to Hollywood. Peppa and George were watching their favourite superhero, Super Potato, on television.
Wow.
"When a trip to America to star in my new film, Vegetables in Space," announced Super Potato. "Just find my golden ticket to join me and my co-star, Hash Brown, here in Hollywood." "Ooh," gasped Peppa. Peppa ran into the kitchen where Mummy and Daddy Pig were making dinner. "Mummy," said Peppa, "can we find Super Potato's golden ticket, please?" "There's only one ticket in the whole world, Peppa," said Mummy Pig. "We'd have to be very lucky to find it." Just then, Mummy Pig said, "Oh, there's something in this potato." "It's the golden ticket," gasped Peppa and Daddy Pig.
Hooray!
"We're going to America," cried Mummy Pig. A few days later, they were on the plane. "This is your captain speaking," announced their pilot, Miss Rabbit. "We'll soon be arriving in America. I think Does anyone know where it is? Is that it? Asked Peppa, peering through the windows. Peppa was right. It was America. Outside the airport, a bright yellow taxi arrived to collect them. The driver looked very familiar. Miss Rabbit at your service. Where do you want to go? You're Miss Rabbit, gasped Peppa. We have a Miss Rabbit at home. Every town needs a Miss Rabbit, said the taxi driver. Hop in. Is this Hollywood? Asked Mummy Pig. No, said Miss Rabbit. This is New York, the city that never sleeps. I'll give you a tour. New York was very busy and very big.
Wow.
Miss Rabbit got Peppa and George ice creams, then took everyone to the first stop on her New York tour, the Empire State Building. When they reached the top, Daddy Pig closed his eyes. I can't look, he said. But there's so much to see, Daddy, cried Peppa. Miss Rabbit popped on her tour guide cap. With this telescope, you can see the Statue of Liberty, she said. Peppa looked through the telescope and across New York Harbour. I can see a big green lady with an ice cream, she cried, holding her own cone in the air. Look at me, I'm the Statue of Liberty. The next stop was Times Square.
Wow.
Look, called Peppa, pointing at a billboard. That's the film we're going to be in. You need to go to Hollywood, said Miss Rabbit. I have just the thing to get you there. A motorhome, said Miss Rabbit. She threw Daddy Pig the keys and Peppa's family climbed aboard. It had been a very busy day in New York. Peppa and her family needed a good night's rest in the motorhome before the journey to Hollywood. For a city that never sleeps, it's made me very sleepy, said Daddy Pig. The next day, Peppa and her family got straight on the road to Hollywood. Are we there yet, Daddy Pig? Asked Mummy Pig. Let's ask someone, he replied. They pulled up outside a nearby diner where someone familiar looking was strumming a guitar. Howdy, folks. I'm Miss Rabbit. It's another Miss Rabbit, Peppa cried.
Wow.
Yep, there's loads of us around, replied Miss Rabbit. Now, what can I do for you? Do you need gas or a bite to eat? Are we in Hollywood? Asked Mummy Pig. No, ma'am. You're a long way away from Hollywood, said Miss Rabbit. But as you're here, why don't you get some home cooking in your bellies? Well, I suppose I could stop for breakfast, said Daddy Pig. After a delicious breakfast of eggs, Miss Rabbit took Peppa's family country dancing and monster trucking. Daddy's truck is jumping up and down in muddy puddles, Peppa cheered. But there was no time to waste if they were going to make it to the film set. Peppa and her family had to say goodbye. Hash Brown is my favourite actor, said Miss Rabbit. Tell him howdy from me. Daddy Pig drove for miles and miles until... Stop! Yelled Mr. Bison. Canyon ahead, and if you want to know more, there's an information desk over there. Peppa and her family met another Miss Rabbit at the information desk. She gave them a tour of the Grand Canyon in her helicopter. Wow! Cried Peppa. Amazing, isn't it? Said Miss Rabbit. These rocks have been here since the time of the dinosaurs.
Wow.
Dinosaur! Shouted George. Miss Rabbit's tour continued with a ride down some rapids and a visit to the Grand Canyon Caverns, where she showed them animal pictures drawn a long time ago. "Ew," cried George. Daddy Pig drove out of the desert. "Are we nearly there yet?" asked Peppa. "I don't know," said Daddy Pig. "Let's stop and look at the map." "Sir, did you know you must only stop on a freeway if it is an emergency?" said Police Rabbit. "It's another Miss Rabbit," said Peppa. "Miss Rabbit, it is an emergency. We've won tickets to be in Super Potato's new film, Vegetables in Space," added Mummy Pig. "In that case, head straight on until you see the Hollywood sign. If you don't see the sign, look out for the stars," said Miss Rabbit. George spotted them first.
Wow! Star, star!
He shouted. Then Peppa spotted 2 real-life stars. "It's Super Potato and Hash Brown," she cried. "We won the competition to be in your film, Vegetables in Space," said Peppa. "Then let's get to the studio," cried Super Potato. "We've got a film to make."
Hooray!
On the film set, Peppa and her family were dressed up as broccoli. Then the filming began. Lights, camera, action. Hundreds of space carrots zoomed towards Super Potato and Hash Brown's spaceship. "Oh no!" shouted Super Potato. "These naughty carrots will destroy the universe." "If only there were some way of getting rid of them," cried Hash Brown. "We could eat them," said Peppa. "But it looks like there are too many." Just then, some unexpected visitors arrived at the studio. "Hello," said several familiar voices. "We couldn't miss meeting Hash Brown." It was Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, and Miss Rabbit. "We have to eat the carrots," explained Peppa. "It's to save the universe." The Miss Rabbits were very happy to help. They loved carrots even more than they loved Hash Brown. "We did it!" cried Super Potato.
Hooray!
"Hooray!" everyone cheered. The universe was saved thanks to Peppa and all the Miss Rabbits. "Have you had a good time on your trip, Peppa?" asked one Miss Rabbit. "Yes," said Peppa. "The best bit was everything." Peppa loves Hollywood. Everyone loves Hollywood. The end.